Thank you to our choir. That was moving and truly, truly beautiful. I know Kathleen appreciated it. We all appreciated it. So thank you. That was beautiful. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you all for being here today and for always being so kind. Are you getting it? This week is our week of kindness, which is also very fitting to remember a loved one that has brought such light and kindness into life, as Kathleen's father, who we dedicated today's service to. And besides celebrating our loved ones, if you are looking for something to donate to during this week of kindness, maybe think of the foster system. Give knapsacks or small luggage or duffel bags to foster care kids. I was completely unaware until Carol shared this with me. Do you know foster kids are given a garbage bag to hold their possessions?
Yes.
I didn't. Now think about that. What is near and dear to them, the treasures that they take from place to place, they are asked to put in a trash bag. What message is that going to them? Let's help change that message. Maybe we can think of a way we can incorporate that into our donations. Whether we fit it in this year or it's something grand that we do next year. But let's think of some ideas on that, because that does need a new message, a message of love and worth. And that's what we're all about, right? Now, there are many ways we can express our kindness during this 4th week in our 6-week celebration. Is everyone enjoying their charms?
Yes.
What's it going to be, I wonder?
I don't know. Well, last week, Reverend Sue shared that she gives out smiley face pennies to people, so guess what? Charm. Well, we gave out smiley face last week for joy. You know what I give out? Yeah. When I see people being kind or compassionate or being their true, authentic selves, or sometimes I give them to remind them to be their authentic selves. Be who God intended you to be. Joyful, kind, being. Be on a journey of wonder, kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Does everybody remember that story? You know, he had the parents and the children come in and go through this chocolate wonderland, this wonderful world of imagination, giving them opportunities to be their true selves. But only one child ended up being kind, and he won the prize. Well, we can all win the prize, because we are naturally loving, compassionate, good beings who are always welcoming and kind to all. We're so welcoming. We should have a sign on the door that says, "Welcome to our hive. Come on in, you'll have a honey of a time." Yes?
Yes.
So after our talk today, you will receive a bee charm to hook onto your name badge to represent Kindness Week. So what kindness will you do? Will you go out of your way looking for someone to do an act of kindness for? Someone, or maybe it will just pop right up in front of you without thinking about it. And this is very, very minor, but still, it doesn't need to be grand to make a ripple, right? Santa was in Walmart yesterday, ho, ho, hoing very loudly. And this one grandma had a grandson up front to see Santa, and I took a picture while I was in line waiting for the cashier. Well, this little child started screaming and crying because he was really ho-ho-hoing a little too loud, and he would not go up to Santa. So they came back to the checkout line, and there was right in front of me the mom of that little toddler. And she said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you didn't get your candy cane." Well, if you know me, besides having these in my purse, I always have a candy cane, especially around this time of year. So I pull it out and offer it, and they happily accepted it. And it turns out, this is the little one's very first candy cane. That's what the lady behind me did. She went, "Oh, Santa's watching, and you're going to be on like an extremely good list this year," which made the other person behind her giggle. Which is, you're a part of a first for this child. So now everybody's chit-chatting in the line. Something so small and simple, but the high vibe chatter in that really long Walmart winding checkout line was really joyful. There were giggles all the way to the back. And the little toddler is happy, waving to everybody, going up and down, showing everybody his new candy cane. Tears are all gone now. So customers in this line are all smiles and being more patient too. It must have made a difference, right? Every little thing we do causes a ripple. So if we want more kindness and joy, we need to be more kind and joyful. My friend the bee says, be the change you want to see in the world, right?
Right.
It always starts with us. I read this post. It said, "You may think that you are completely insignificant in this world, but someone drinks coffee from their favorite cup that you gave them. Someone heard a song on the radio that reminded them of you. Someone read the book that you recommended and plunged headfirst into it." It was probably a Linda Blesser book. "Someone smiled after a hard days of work because they remembered the joke you told them. Someone loves themselves a little bit more because you gave them a compliment or you noticed their passion and applauded it. Never think that you have no influence whatsoever. Your trace, which you leave behind with every good deed, cannot be erased." Think about that. Every good deed you ever did made a ripple. It shone light for someone in the dark. It gave hope to someone feeling lost. Your goodness, your kindness lives on even today in the memories of those that you've touched. Or all those times when you stepped up, you did what was right, even if it wasn't the easy way, the way that others were doing it. You stood up and did what was right and made a difference. So let me tell you a little story. A teacher took a fish out of its bowl and left a classroom of teens as it flopped around, telling them that if anyone left their seat, they would be expelled. All of the teens sat and watched as the fish flopped around, gasping for air, not wanting to get up in order to avoid getting into trouble. Finally, a girl sprang up from her seat and ran to the fish, placing it back in the bowl, saving its life. Ultimately, she was the only one who refused to watch the fish die. When the teacher returned, he told the class this was a lesson, that the fear of getting into trouble should never stop you from doing what's right. Sometimes you may have to oppose what authority or what a group thinks, simply because it's the right thing to do. We need to be the change. We need to be the one to show the compassion, to show the humanity, to show the kindness. Because really those are our true values, our God-given characteristics. being loving, compassionate, and kind. Sometimes in this world of chaos, we forget. We simply forget who we are. And I read this some time back. It's about kindness that was shown. A woman wrote, she was going through a very tough time, and said, one afternoon, there was a knock at her door. When I opened up the door, I saw someone dressed like a dinosaur running away, and a basket of goodies were left on my step. Inside were some treats and a gratitude journal. I remember crying because it was such a lovely act of kindness that I so desperately needed right then. I started writing in that journal right away and have continued writing every night before bed. That journal has long been filled, but I have bought other gratitude journals and have kept writing for over 2 years now. That random act of kindness filled me with so much joy and gratitude. It truly is the gift that keeps giving and reminding me to always be grateful and to spread kindness. That is a sweet story about an act of kindness. But I don't know about you, but I wanted to know more about the dinosaur. Who was it? Why were they dressed up as a dinosaur? But that was the end of the story, so no more mentioning the dinosaur. I guess that we'll just never know. Welcome home, Bob.
Sorry.
No. Another article that I read said, acts of kindness have a bigger impact on well-being than you think. According to new research, giving and receiving an act of kindness makes you feel good. New research shows, however, that a small act of kindness has a greater positive effect than the giver realizes. Researchers completed 8 experiments assessing a group of participants completing random acts of kindness. In one of the examples, 84 participants were asked whether they wanted to keep a hot chocolate for themselves or give it to another person in the park. For the 75 participants who gave their warm drink away, they estimated how they thought the recipient would feel. And the recipient also recorded how they actually felt. It was clear that the performers underestimated the value of their kindness. The result on the recipients is perhaps the most novel findings here. The participants did not expect their kind gesture to have as positive an impact as it did. They further undervalued how big the act of kindness was perceived. People get that being kind to people makes them feel good. What we don't get is how good it really makes others feel. They did the same experiment, but this time with cupcakes. They took 200 people and separated them into 2 groups. Members of one group got a cupcake for participating, and the other gave away their treats to strangers. Again, the researchers found that those who received the treat felt better than the giver expected. Further, the recipients who got the treat from a stranger reported feeling even happier than those who received it as part of the study. This amplifies the notion that it's the thought that counts, because it wasn't a matter of receiving the cupcake, but receiving it from someone who is doing it in a way as to be kind. And generosity is contagious, because it found that after receiving an act of kindness, people were more likely to share the love and return the kindness to someone else. If you knew the impact that you were having, you would be so surprised. So let's pay kindness forward. I know most of us already do that, right? We've paid for the coffee for the person who was behind us, and then that person paid for them behind that. Once you are treated kind, you automatically want to share that with the next person. We are naturally kind beings. Sometimes we just need a reminder. So be the reminder for someone. Or maybe be the example. And do the first act of kindness and watch it grow. Let me tell you another little story. It's called My Dad, Kindness Hero. My father, Gail, is 82 years old now. I recently learned about his random act of kindness that happened more than 60 years ago. I wept as my mother told me the story. She began, "You know, your father will never tell you this, but I want you to know that when you and your little sister were very, very young, your father worked in the coal mine near Alpha. It was dangerous and dirty work. One day while your dad was working his shift, a guy on the crew broke his ankle, and your father watched as others carried this man out of the mine. Your dad thought about this fellow with a broken ankle all during the rest of his shift. He kept thinking, how will this man feed his family this week, next week? That day at the end of his shift, he went to his boss and asked if he could work double shifts for a month or maybe 2. So the fellow with the broken ankle and his family would continue to get a weekly paycheck until he could return to work. Dad's boss said yes. Dad worked his shift and the extra shift for a crew member he did not even know, except that he had a wife and children. Your dad worked double shifts for 2 months. Wow. I can only imagine the impact that that had, not only on the family of the man who was injured, but the community as a whole. Once they learned about this, I can only imagine the shift that happened there. There had to be ripple effects. And just retelling the story will continue to create more ripple effects. There's a quote from Fred Rogers. It said, "If you could only sense how important you are in the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of, there is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person." See, there's so many different ways of saying it, but we are important to each other. We are important to life. We matter. Our kindness does make an impact. It does make a ripple in the lives of so many people we cannot even count. This next thing comes from the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. It's called Meet Kara, Kindness Storyteller. She said, "When I graduated from college, I dreamed of being a television news reporter. Having no experience, I had to start small at a dinky little cable station in Naples, Florida, a town I had never even heard of before. So I put my time in covering sea turtle rescues and unknown celebrities until I got my big break, in the form of a job in Boston. There I got to work in a fancy new station, sign autographs for school kids, and have access to a helicopter and a fleet of trucks. I had truly made it. Soon reality set in. In a big city market, there was always some bad news happening somewhere, and I was too often sent chasing accused criminals out of courtrooms, waiting outside a crime scene tape, or at the doorstep of a family still reeling from tragedies. My breaking point came the day I accidentally informed a young woman her mother was dead. It was the worst day of my professional life, and the day I decided I no longer wanted to shine a light on these stories. At the same time my professional life was unraveling, so was my personal life. And I remember my mom had always told me, when you're hurting, go help someone. So to get through these last months of my contract, I started seeking out stories of people who had been in the news under tragic circumstances, but were doing something inspiring with their lives. A young girl who was paralyzed by a stray bullet was uplifting her classmates with her positive spirit. A blind and autistic musician who learned to play 27 instruments. And a disabled war vet who opened his own art studio. These stories were the inspiration behind Storytellers for Good, an organization I started to tell and promote stories like those. Over the last 10 years, I have discovered my kindness gift, my ability to see the beautiful essence of a person and reflect it back to them and to the world. But the gift has been all mine. In telling stories of people turning their own hurt into acts of kindness and helping others, I have become more compassionate. I have become more grateful, and I certainly have become more kind. I have learned kindness is who we are, that our capacity for it is limitless, and that as we shine a light on it, it grows. Kara, besides having her Storytellers for Good organization, is also the mastermind behind the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation videos. Isn't that great? And my last two quotes, one by Buddha Muhammad. Don't wait for people to be kind. Show them how. My second quote by Martin Kornfeld. If we all do one random act of kindness daily, we just might set the world in the right direction. I am certainly ready for that. One last little story. Because I was still so stuck on that dinosaur, this is a book by Jane Yolen. How does a dinosaur learn to be kind? Does he roar about everything that's on his mind? Does he ride his bike fast, making other bikes fall? Does he then turn around and just laugh at them all? Does he splash in the tub till his brother cries out? Does he pull the plug, leaving brother in drought? Does he hide Grandpa's cane in a faraway bush? Does he give Grandma's wheelchair a fast, silly push? Does he stomp in huge puddles to make a big mess? Does he spill his ice cream on Mama's new dress? Does he hide Daddy's pencils and papers and pens? Does he tell silly stories about all of his friends? Does he wake up at midnight and make lots of noise? Does he steal his big sister's new shoes and her toys? No, 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 no. A dinosaur knows how to be very kind and always keeps other folks firmly in mind. His mother and father, they both call him sweet. He helps both his grands cross the busiest of streets. He's kind to his friends, his neighbors, and more. What a one-of-a-kind, very kind dinosaur. The end. I feel better. Kindness. Whenever you find this, you will see the world's a better place. And kindness, whenever you try this, you could bring a smile to someone's face. So go and be you, wonderful you, being kind. Namaste.